There was a moment in your life when everything inside you said, "This is it." You didn't need proof. You didn't need validation. And you didn't even know exactly how it would happen. You just knew that something inside you had awakened. That moment was the birth of your fire. It might have come quietly in a whisper while you were alone, or it might have roared like thunder after years of frustration. But whatever form it took, it was real. It was the spark of creation, the moment you saw yourself becoming more than who you were. When you first decided to start, you weren't thinking about failure or fear or judgment. You were moved by something far greater than the circumstances around you. You felt possibility. You saw a version of yourself that was free, alive, and unstoppable. That energy wasn't logical, it was emotional. It came from a place deep within you, a place untouched by the noise of the world. It was the purest form of truth you had ever experienced. That was the origin of your fire. But as time passes, we tend to forget where that energy came from. We start to look for reasons outside of us to keep going: money, recognition, validation, and when those things don't come quickly, we begin to doubt. Yet in the beginning, you didn't start for any of that. You started because something inside of you said, "I am meant for more." You started because you saw a glimpse of what life could be if you truly gave everything. That moment was sacred. It wasn't just an idea. It was a signal from your higher potential, a call from your future self pulling you forward. Think about that moment again. Try to remember where you were, what you felt, what you saw in your mind's eye. The feeling wasn't forced, it flowed through you effortlessly. You were inspired not because of what was in front of you, but because of what you believed was within you. That's what makes the beginning so powerful. It's born out of vision, not circumstance. You weren't reacting to the world. You were creating one. That's why the memory of your beginning carries energy. It holds emotional information that can reignite your purpose if you allow yourself to reconnect with it. In that first spark, your mind and heart were in harmony. You weren't divided. You weren't worrying about the how, you were focused on the why. Your emotions were elevated: joy, excitement, possibility, gratitude. And those emotions are the language of creation. When you felt those things, you sent a message to every cell in your body that something new was about to begin. You were becoming someone different. You weren't waiting for external success to define you. You were already feeling the energy of success within. That's why the beginning always feels so magnetic. It's when your inner and outer worlds start to align. Over time, the noise of the world can drown out that signal. The mind becomes crowded with doubts, expectations, and pressures. But the truth is, the fire never went out. It's just been buried under the weight of thought. To find it again, you must return to that emotional state where everything was possible. You must re-enter the energy of that first decision, because your original reason, your true why, holds a vibration that's unique to you. It was never about the outcome. It was about the transformation. It was about becoming someone who refuses to settle for less than what they're capable of. When you remember the origin of your fire, you reconnect with the emotional frequency that started it all. You remember what it felt like to believe without evidence, to act with courage before the path was clear. You remember that the reason you began was not to prove something to the world, but to yourself. Every great story begins with that kind of faith, an unshakable belief that something greater exists on the other side of effort. That belief is what awakens creativity, resilience, and focus. It's what moves you through the uncertainty that comes after the excitement fades. Close your eyes and go back to that moment when you said yes to your dream. Feel the energy that surged through you. That wasn't imagination, that was truth. That was your potential introducing itself to you. It was life saying, "Here I am. Choose me." That feeling is still accessible right now. You can breathe it back into existence simply by focusing on it, by remembering how alive it made you feel. Because emotion is energy in motion, and when you feel that energy again, you realign your body and mind with your purpose. You see, the fire didn't start outside of you, it was always within. It was a recognition of your own power, your own potential, your own divine capacity to create. And that same energy that started it all is waiting for you to remember it again. It's only dormant, waiting for your attention. When you direct your awareness back to the emotion of that first spark, you begin to awaken it once more. The body begins to remember the feeling of possibility. The heart starts to open again. The mind becomes clear. And in that clarity, you find your strength, your direction, and your purpose returning. The origin of your fire is your compass. It's the purest reminder of who you were before fear got in the way. It's the part of you that believed not because you saw results, but because you felt truth. When you live from that place, you stop chasing your dream and start embodying it. Because the moment you remember why you started, the same energy that once created the beginning starts to move through you again. Ready to create the next chapter of your life somewhere along the way? The spark that once lit your path began to dim. Not because you stopped caring, not because your dream wasn't worth it, but because life has a way of pulling you into its noise. The very world that once seemed full of opportunity starts whispering doubts. Responsibilities multiply, distractions grow louder, and your energy once directed toward creation gets scattered across survival. That's how the drift begins. It doesn't happen in a single moment. It's gradual, subtle, almost invisible. One day you wake up and realize that the passion that once burned so brightly has been replaced by obligation. The fire didn't go out. It just got buried beneath layers of routine, fear, and repetition. When you first started, you were driven by emotion, by vision, excitement, and possibility. You were in alignment with your purpose. Your heart and mind were unified. But as time moved forward, the outer world began to demand more of your attention than your inner world. You started responding to problems, deadlines, and expectations instead of intentions. You began to operate on autopilot, repeating the same thoughts, the same feelings, the same actions, day after day. And when you repeat the same emotional states long enough, they become your personality. You begin to forget what it felt like to dream freely, to wake up inspired. You start living from memory instead of imagination. The human mind is a powerful mechanism. It loves patterns. It seeks familiarity because familiarity feels safe. Even when those patterns no longer serve you, your body clings to them because they're predictable. So when life becomes stressful, uncertain, or overwhelming, you unconsciously retreat to the comfort of old habits, even if those habits are keeping you stuck. You stop chasing growth and start chasing comfort. And comfort, while it may feel good in the moment, slowly suffocates your potential. This is the drift, the slow movement away from the energy of creation and toward the energy of limitation. Most people don't notice it happening. They tell themselves they're just tired or too busy. They justify the lack of inspiration by pointing to circumstances, work, bills, family, the world. But the truth is, the drift begins in the mind. It begins the moment you start believing that your external reality is more powerful than your internal one. It begins when you let fear take the place of faith. The more you focus on what's not working, the more energy you give to doubt. And because your mind and body are always listening, they begin to reproduce that state over and over until it becomes your new normal. You start living from limitation rather than potential. The drift is also fueled by emotional addiction. When you live in a constant state of stress, worry, or self-doubt, your body becomes chemically addicted to those emotions. It starts craving them. You begin unconsciously seeking situations that confirm your stress because they validate what your body has grown used to feeling. That's why breaking free feels so hard. It's not just mental, it's biochemical. You've literally trained your body to live in the past. Every thought of failure, every fear of judgment, every worry about the future reinforces the same neural circuits that keep you stuck. The dream feels distant, not because it's gone, but because you've disconnected from the emotional frequency that created it. The moment you lose connection to your why, you lose connection to your power. You start chasing outcomes rather than embodying purpose. You start measuring progress by external validation instead of internal growth. The dream that once made you feel alive becomes a source of pressure. You begin to confuse productivity with purpose. You start doing more, but feeling less. And the more you push without alignment, the further you drift from your original intention. The mind begins to doubt what the heart once knew. This is where people give up. They think the fading excitement means they've failed, or that their dream wasn't meant for them. But what they don't realize is that the drift is part of the process. It's the test. It's the space where you are meant to remember, to awaken again, to choose differently. It's life asking you, will you still believe even when it doesn't feel easy? Because when you do, you begin to take back control of your energy. Commitment isn't about pushing harder, forcing outcomes, or grinding until you break. True commitment is about becoming the energy of what you desire until it feels natural to remain consistent. It's not a discipline of the body, it's a synchronization of the mind and heart. When you first began your journey, your energy was aligned with inspiration. You didn't have to force yourself to act because your vision was clear. Your emotions were elevated, and your purpose was alive within you. But as challenges appeared and results slowed, your energy shifted. You started to operate from effort instead of flow. You began to rely on willpower rather than alignment. And when you rely on willpower alone, commitment becomes a battle. The truth is, energy creates experience. Every thought you think sends a signal to your body, and every emotion you feel broadcasts that signal into the world. When your thoughts and emotions contradict each other, when your mind says, I can, your body feels fear, you create internal resistance. That resistance drains your energy, leaving you tired, uninspired, and inconsistent. To stay committed, you must first align those two forces so they work together. You must teach your body to feel what your mind believes. Because until you do, your body will continue to pull you back to the comfort of the familiar, no matter how much your mind wants change. Rewiring your energy begins with awareness. Every emotion you carried out, excitement, anxiety, and joy, is an electrical frequency that shapes how you perceive the world. Most people try to change their behavior while staying emotionally the same. That's why they keep falling back into old habits. The body is addicted to familiar emotions, even if they're negative. If you've lived with stress long enough, your body becomes conditioned to it. It begins to crave it because it feels normal. So even when you try to move toward your dream, your subconscious pulls you back into situations that recreate the emotional state you're used to. The mind can imagine change, but the body resists it because it's still wired to the past. To truly stay committed, you have to break that emotional addiction. You have to teach your body that a new reality exists. You do that not through words, but through feeling. Every time you visualize your goal and genuinely feel the emotion of already having it, gratitude, pride, peace, you're creating a new neural pathway. You're conditioning your body to believe that the future is now. The more often you feel that emotion, the stronger the signal becomes. The stronger the signal, the easier it is for your actions to match your intention. Suddenly, commitment doesn't feel like struggle. It feels like alignment. You're no longer forcing yourself forward. You're being pulled by the energy of your vision. Staying committed is about coherence. When your thoughts, feelings, and actions operate on the same frequency. When your thoughts are focused on your goal, your emotions are elevated by it, and your actions reflect it. You generate electromagnetic harmony within your body. This harmony creates clarity, focus, and resilience. You stop fighting against yourself because every part of you is moving in the same direction. This is why people who seem effortlessly consistent aren't superhuman, they're simply aligned. Their internal state supports their external actions. They don't have to talk themselves into commitment because their energy is already there. Rewiring your energy also requires that you shift your relationship with struggle. Most people see difficulty as a sign that they're failing, but struggle is actually feedback. It's your body's way of showing you that you're outgrowing an old emotional pattern. When you hit resistance, it's not a wall, it's a signal. It means your old identity is dissolving so that your new one can emerge. The key is not to fight the discomfort, but to stay conscious within it. The moment you feel doubt, anxiety, or fatigue, pause and observe it. Don't judge it, don't resist it, just become aware. That awareness breaks the emotional loop. The more often you do that, the more power you take back from the old energy that used to control you. Commitment becomes sustainable when it's not about what you do, but about who you are being. You can't think your way into commitment. You have to embody it. When you start feeling the emotions of success, peace, and fulfillment before they manifest, your body begins to memorize that future as if it's already happening. You literally rewire your nervous system to expect it. Your actions then become an extension of that state, not an effort to reach it. This is the foundation of true persistence. Being internally aligned with the future you desire until it feels as familiar as the past you're leaving behind. It's important to understand that the energy you project determines what you attract. When your internal frequency vibrates at the same level as your goal, you magnetize experiences that match it. This isn't mystical, it's physics. The field around you responds to the signal you emit. If your energy is rooted in fear, lack, or frustration, you'll draw more situations that confirm those emotions. But if your energy is rooted in gratitude, belief, and certainty, life will reorganize itself to match that vibration. That's how you stay committed, not by chasing outcomes, but by maintaining the energetic state of already having achieved them. When you operate from alignment, consistency becomes natural. You no longer need motivation because your energy sustains you. You don't rely on external results to prove your progress because you can feel the change within. The more you align your energy with your purpose, the easier it becomes to stay on course, even when the road is unclear. Because your mind no longer lives in the past, it lives in the frequency of your future. And once your body learns to live there too, commitment stops being something you do and becomes who you rue. Don't create transformation by waiting for evidence. You create it by becoming the evidence. The person who achieves their dream doesn't live in the future. They live in the vibration of that dream right now. Every thought, every emotion, every action begins to mirror that identity. Living as the person who has already achieved what you desire means no longer chasing what's missing, but embodying what's already true within you. It's not pretending. It's not wishful thinking. It's alignment, the merging of belief and behavior until there's no separation between who you are and who you want to be. When you set a goal, the mind often holds it at a distance. You imagine it as something out there, something that will happen someday. But as long as your dream exists in the future, your body stays in the past. Your thoughts say, "I will be successful," but your emotions quietly whisper, "I'm not yet." This gap between your current state and your desired reality creates friction. You begin to experience lack, not abundance. You start focusing on what you don't have, and in doing so, you continue to reinforce the same energy that keeps your dream out of reach. The only way to bridge that gap is to collapse time to bring the emotion of the future into the present moment and live as if it's already real. The mind learns through knowledge, but the body learns through experience. That means thinking about your dream is not enough. You must feel it. When you feel gratitude, joy, and peace, as if your vision has already manifested, your body begins to memorize that emotional state. It becomes familiar with the energy of success. And because the body and subconscious don't distinguish between imagination and reality, it starts to act accordingly. You begin to walk, speak, and decide like the version of yourself who already made it. That shift in identity changes everything around you because life mirrors who you are being, not what you're wanting. Most people wait for their environment to change before they feel different. They wait for the promotion to feel accomplished, for the relationship to feel loved, for the money to feel secure. But creation works in the opposite direction. You must feel the emotion first, and then the outer world reorganizes itself to reflect that internal state. Living as the person who has already achieved your dream means taking emotional responsibility for your reality. It means you stop depending on external circumstances to validate your worth. You start generating the emotions of success from within, regardless of what's happening around you. That's when you begin to shift your energy from lack to abundance, from trying to being. Imagine waking up tomorrow as the version of you who has already arrived. How would you think? How would you move? How would you treat others? How would you treat yourself? When you begin to answer those questions with emotion, you're no longer hoping for the future, you're rehearsing it. Every thought you rehearse becomes a blueprint for your brain. Every emotion you embody becomes an instruction for your body. The more you practice this alignment, the more natural it becomes. Soon, your nervous system starts expecting that reality because it has already experienced it internally. This is where transformation deepens. Because when you start living as your future self, you stop being controlled by your past self. The habits, doubts and fears that once held power over you begin to lose their grip. You no longer react from old emotional memories. You respond from the energy of your new identity. That's what it means to evolve consciously. You're not waiting for something to happen so that you can change. You're changing first so that something can happen. Every time you choose the higher version of yourself in thought, word, and action, you're instructing the universe who you are becoming. The body follows the mind.